Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Consciousness Review. I'm Miriam Knight, and our guest today is Philip Devitte. When Phil was just 27 years old, a car accident left him paralyzed from the waist down. The doctors told him that less than 1% of people with injuries like his ever walk again, and they advised him to just accept his new situation. He was also told that he would never be able to have children with his lovely wife. Today, Philip has been walking for over 25 years, and he is the father of 2 children. He recorded his amazing journey in his book, Follow Your Heart, which is a testimony to the power of one's inner spirit. Philip, welcome. I'm so delighted to speak with you today.
I am happy to be here, Miriam.
Philip, start by telling us about the car accident and what happened to you as a result.
Well, it was just like a normal day of me going to work, driving down the major interstate here in Seattle on I-5. It was in January, and as I'm going down I-5, I'm getting ready to get off the exit to get to work, and when I changed lanes, I ran over black ice, my car went out of control, and my car was doing 360s over 4 lanes of I-5, hit the embankment, and then my car went end over end and ejected me out of my closed sunroof. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, and when I fell to the ground, I tried to get up, and I couldn't feel anything.
Wow. It's incredible that you survived that. What did the doctor tell you? What happened when you got to the hospital?
Well, when I got to the hospital, the doctor, after he looked at the x-ray, said, Phil, I've got some really bad news for you. You broke your back, you damaged your spinal cord, and you'll never walk again. And, I told him, oh, no, I'm going to walk again. He says, no, Phil, you don't understand. I've seen many of these types of situations before, and less than 1% ever do. So, I had my back surgery, 2 weeks, and 2 weeks after my back surgery, I died from a pulmonary embolism. So, yeah, you're right. It was incredible that I did survive.
Say that again. 2 weeks after your back surgery, you had a pulmonary embolism and what?
And I died.
So did you have a near-death experience at the time?
That's kind of funny that you mentioned that. Everyone asks me, did I have a near-death? And I think, and I always say jokingly because I just blacked out, and I tell people, I saw fire, and I knew that I wasn't in the right place, so I knew my life wasn't over, and I said, God, please get me back. So no, I really didn't have, what they say, I didn't see the tunnel or any of that.
Mm-hmm. And yet, your mother actually was a very spiritual woman. What role did she play in your recovery?
Well, I think what my mom gave me as, and my dad too, is, people that, hey, when you go through things in your life, you got to be proud of what you do. And so, and they taught me about pride and being good at what I do. And, my mother went through a back situation growing, when I was very young. And, she was taking pain pills and all that, stuff. And, that it just wasn't working out. She had back surgery. And then my mother went into yoga. So she started yoga. And, with the meditation, the visualization, she had a really good teacher who was the person that helped me later, which we'll probably cover, Ralph Mitchell, who started the Academy of Yoga in Seattle. And so she kind of opened my eyes up, my senses to the idea about, visualization, meditation. And that stuff with her yoga actually helped her, where she didn't have as much pain. So I saw, a lot of strength coming from what Mom did. So that's what, through her experience, that kind of opened my eyes up to this and accepted, hey, maybe this is a great possibility. But I never practiced any of this stuff growing up as a kid. but my mom's role was basically, through her life experience, it taught me something that, hey, it was, she was in pain a lot, and it really helped. So that's what I saw.
Now, when the doctor told you you would never walk again, what was your gut reaction?
Well, my gut reaction is that I would walk again, and this guy is telling me, no, Phil, you're not going to walk. And, he would do these tests on me, check, do the pinpricks on my legs, just say, hey, can you feel this? Can you feel that, Phil? And I said, no, I can't feel that. And he said, hey, can you wiggle your toes? Can you move anything? And, I couldn't. I was passing all this tests miserably. And this went on for about 4 weeks. And so, we went through this process again and in the routine. And then he said, so, Phil, and he always said, so what do you feel about your situation? I said, well, I know I'm going to walk. I just know I'm going to walk. And so at this one point, he asked me that question again after doing my routine. And he said, so what do you think, Phil? I said, no, I'm going to walk. And then all of a sudden he closed the door on me. And he looked at me and he said, Phil, your family, friends are giving you false hope. I've seen this many times. You're not going to walk. And when you realize this in 3 months, I'm going to pick you up off the ground and I'm going to help you in your life. And I looked at him and I said, Doc, if that's the way you feel about it, without giving me a chance, then you're fired. So I fired my doctor.
Yay.
And so here I am that evening. I remember that evening very well. And here I have no doctor. The doctors, and with conventional medicine couldn't help me. I mean, there's no magic pill they could give me. And I was looking for that magic pill desperately. And just thinking about all the stuff, just agonizing over this, I had a realization. And the realization was that, I was looking for that magic pill in the wrong places. And I say that I could go all over this planet, look through look under every rock, through every crack. And, I was looking in all the wrong places because, that magic pill was within me. And I didn't like what he said. I didn't like him telling me that he's putting me in, putting basically the human being in a box and telling me this is the way it's going to be. I believe that, hey, don't ever underestimate the power of the human soul, the human being. And it just gave me strength. It was just an amazing time that going through the pits at that point, but it just made me really come together on that I understood at that time that if anything was going to happen, that I had to be fully engaged in my life, to be a part of my healing, to make it happen. And I didn't know how, but I just knew. And that just helped solidify the idea that, hey, I guess it's because I don't like to be told what to do anyway. That's what my parents always told me. But, it just really helped me figure this whole thing out, that for the first time in my life, that I can't rely on others. I have got to really engage in my life if this is going to happen and give it my best.
That is such a profound lesson, and the whole system of healthcare, really the whole system of society, is geared toward making you doubt yourself, making you listen to authority, and particularly anybody with a white coat on. So, was it really just stubbornness, or was there some wellspring that you suddenly were able to tap into that you could never find before?
Well, when I had this, I call it my epiphany, that going through all this suffering, and suffering really is a good thing in a way because it tells you that you're not in the right place. I knew I wasn't in the right place. So, what I said is to my God or whoever our gods are, but to my maker, I said to him, I don't like what's going on here. I don't like people telling me or telling anybody how it's going to be. And I said, you help me, please, get this out. Help me walk so I can get this story out. And then I had this little voice come back to me and go, but do you believe? And I said, yes, I do believe. And then the strength came, this realization was that, everything in my life, going through my life, people tell me, and this is what's going on in a lot of our lives, is growing up and stuff, people are going to tell you, no, you can't do this. You have dreams and goals, you have your intuitions and whatever it is, but people want to take that away because they don't understand it either. I don't know what people that say this have done in their life, but most people, it's just a matter of, following your intuition, and a lot of us don't do that. And so I just, at that point said, you help me through this, and all these cloaks came off of me. That's what I call them, cloaks. And my soul rose. It was an amazing feeling. My soul rose, and I got rid of everything, and I finally said, hey, I can do this. I know I can do this. I'm spiritually, feeling myself now. And as I told you before, I just had a knowing that was going to happen, but I didn't know exactly how to do this. And then as Ralph Mitchell came back into my life, he was always kind of in my life. He was certainly in my mom's life, the guy that started the Academy of Yoga, and he sent me a tape. And this tape, he talked about the power of thought, visualization, meditation, imagery, seeing things taking place, affirmations, relaxation, and prayer. And on the other side of the tape, there was a meditation that he made for me. And I listened to this meditation for over 3 years. And I did this 3 times a day. And so that was part of my process. And I call it being finally balanced mentally and physically, because it gave me incredible strength. And I knew my goal. My goal was I wanted to walk. And I was emotionally attached to something. So I knew what I wanted to do. And this just gave me that strength that I needed to have to do my physical workouts with my therapist and with my incredible workouts in the gym. And, being in line. It's all about alignment. And that's what I cover in my book. One of my 7 strengths that are in my book is alignment. And it was just, it just worked out. I never gave up. The mental exercises, the processes, and the physical processes. I was determined, and I did it. And that's what I share in my book. I even made a tape for the patients. I was at UBEP for 6 months in rehab, and I even made a tape because I was so excited about my progress. I was, up on braces in 6 months, long leg braces, and that was a progression. Mm-hmm. But I gave, people saw what was going on. The doctors that didn't believe all of a sudden started believing. It was just an amazing process. They wanted to jump on the bandwagon because they saw the drive and the processes that we have to use mentally and physically. And I copied a tape, gave it to the patients when I went back to rehab, and some listened to it and some didn't. And, the ones that listened to it gave it 2 or 3 days, and then they gave up on it. And, hey, this is a commitment like anything. And you've really got to work at it. And, everyone goes, well, Phil, isn't that kind of dangerous because what if it didn't happen? And I say to that what's important here is that we do give it our best, that I did give it my best so that I could have no regrets, that I could walk away, I could look in the mirror and go, you know what, Phil, you gave it your best, and it just didn't work out, fine, I could walk away. But I was not going to allow, during this time of my life, someone taking my dream, my intuition away. Those are so important about us, and we need to try them, get them out, and do it our best.
In your life before the accident, did you were you aware of the kind of inner strength that you were able to conjure up afterwards?
I always, the difference here was that I did have goals before, but they were not, I was not emotionally attached to it, and they wasn't very clear until I was paralyzed and my legs were taken from me, and the doctors were saying, no way, it's never going to happen. It was never that clear for me. There were things that I wanted to do, but I could pass the buck and watch, a movie, eat popcorn, and go, you know what? I'll just rest again today, and I'll get to it in 2 days, or whatever it was I wanted to do. But, 2 days would come, and I go, oh, no, I'm just happy right now. I'm relaxed. I'm living a comfortable life. So, that was the difference. I had those goals, but I was not so emotionally attached to it that I was so focused before. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens, what I find is that I had to be pushed up against the wall, or back up against the wall, whatever we want to say, and that's when you really find out who you really are. And that's who I found out who I was, that I knew I didn't like my situation. And those things like suffering, pain and all, those are stuff that, we have in our life. And I was so committed, as I said, that, there's no way anything was going to be taken from me. I wanted to walk, I wanted to show people, or these doctors, don't ever underestimate people. I wanted to walk on the beach with my wife. They said I wasn't going to have kids. I wanted to have kids. These are all things that, when things are taken from you, you really want them. But it's the challenge, right? And what are you going to do with the challenge? I think that's what I did. I had this challenge, and it's what I did with it. And I had so much support with family and friends. And I always say the support I had, which is very important, was no different than those astronauts going up to the moon and coming back safely. Sacrifice and vision. There's a process here. And being mentally involved in it, and then physically taking action, having proper nutrition, it's a process. And it's all about being in line with what it is that you want. So, and that was the first time in my life that I wanted something so bad. And it happened from an experience that was so painful. But those are the things that give us the strength if we allow that to happen. Either we become the victim, or we can really do something with it. And I chose to do something with it.
Well, your story is just so inspiring for anyone wanting to do anything. Clearly, having your legs taken away from you at the age of 27 would have been a major motivation. But I can see the implications for just about anything in life. Have you applied this same mindset to other projects since your recovery of your ability to walk?
Yeah, I have, there's what I'm doing right now is I'm talking with, to kids at driving schools. I'm talking to kids in elementary about, safety, because obviously, I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. So I share that. But then I also share the story, my personal story, and letting everyone know that, you're going to find yourself all alone in your life, where people aren't going to, maybe you feel like they're not supporting you, or they're trying to take that dream away. And I always say, follow it. Follow your dream, follow your goal, and give it your best. Because that's the important part, is that we live our life, and this is our life. And, you want to see things happen. You can do everything. You have all the tools that you need to make it happen. You have to believe in yourself, have that faith and belief in yourself to make things happen. And so that's, that's kind of what I shared with the kids and the teens at driving school. I also run a company that, we sell insurance. We have close to 25 people in my company, and, we deal with sales. And I always share the story in hopes that, salespeople who want to create something in their life, they say, I'd say, how's business going for you? And they go, well, the phones aren't ringing. And I go, well, what are you doing? What are you doing to make that phone ring? That's the part that really is so important in our life, is we've got to be we've got to add to that, whatever it is we want. We've got to actually be a part of our life and engage and not pass the buck on to someone else. And, you know, if we need help, then we get help in knowledge and, you know, whatever the case may be, the challenge, you know. I mean, so yes, I've applied this whole principle in my life.
I find it interesting that you were so excited at your progress that you shared your tape and your approach with your fellow patients in rehab, and yet virtually none of them followed this. Why do you think that was?
Well, I think you have to be really open-minded to it. And again, you know, in life we're told so many things what we can't do, and you know, and especially, you know, with the doctors, in my story, you know, the doctors who, you know, we always, I guess, honor, and don't get me wrong here when I say this, I mean, doctors are so important. If I didn't have good doctors, I mean, maybe the story could have been different too. But, you know, it's all about, you know, people that maybe we perceive that if they say, no, it's not going to happen, then we listen to them. We're not, you know, we're really not living our life. And that's the thing that we have to decide. Are we going to live our life, or are we going to let other people live our life for us? So.
What kind of affirmations were you telling yourself?
Well, I was telling myself my affirmations that I am walking, I am running, I am playing basketball, just like I did before the accident. I mean, it's all in the present. I mean, that's what I was saying, you know. And I would change it up. I'm walking on the beach with my wife. I feel the water on my toes, you know, and my visualizations were always, like I said, that I am experiencing that right now that I want. So, I mean, those were my affirmations.
Tell us the kind of progression of how your body started having sensation again. How long did it take? What were the stages?
Well, the stages were that it all started with my big toe moving. And that was the one time that I almost gave up. I was transferred from one hospital to the major rehab center here in Washington, at University of Washington, and the doctor, you know, doing his exam on me, well, you know, the first day that I was there, he said, I went through my chest, just like, you know, the other doctor gave me pinpricking here and there, and asking me what position my toes in, you know, he'd move it, or my leg, and all that stuff, and, you know, and at that point I was just going, God, nothing's still working. And I said, God, maybe they're right? And he said, okay, Phil, I want you to move your big toe. And I'm like, oh, God, you know, almost what's the use? But I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it my best. And he said, move your big toe. And so I tried to move my big toe, and then he said, Phil, move your big toe again. And I said, what did you say? He said, yeah. And he said, man, you just moved your big toe. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is great news. And it was kind of funny because my mother, you know, when I had visitors come, she'd tell everybody, hey, move your big toe for everybody. And I'm like, Mom, I want more than that. I want more than my big toe. So it was a progression from my big toe going with biofeedback where you couldn't see any of my muscles moving at all in my leg. And my therapist said, you know, let's try this. And so she put these electrodes on me, and she'd say, okay, Phil, which measures your pulses, right, or your your messages, trying to move your quads, or your hip flexor, or any of that stuff. So she put these little electronic nodes on me, and then she'd say, okay, I want you to tighten up your quad. And you wouldn't see me. I was trying to tighten up my quad, and man, you'd see that graph on that meter go up, and we were all like, whoa. You know, you could, and then she tried on this part of my leg and that part, and you would just see the graph going up, and she could make it harder for me by me exerting more energy to try to get those quads to go, and then it would go up higher. But, and so that's where it kind of started. And then, you know, a couple of weeks later, you could see the muscles flickering, you know, and then it went from, getting on long leg braces, and then, it was, like I said, a progression. Then I would go to short leg braces, and then from the long arm crutches to the one arm crutch to the walker to the two canes to the one cane. And this is all from my wheelchair, coming from my wheelchair. And which is interesting enough, not to throw off anything here, but there was a gal in the hospital who she didn't have any insurance, and I gave her my wheelchair. And the doctors had a family conference and said, "You know what, Phil? Why did you give him your wheelchair? You're going to need it." And I go, "No, I'm not." I said, "No, I'm not." And I mean, that's how stubborn, I guess I was, if you might want to call it. So I gave her my wheelchair because I knew I was going to move forward. I wasn't going to go backwards. And that just, like I said, that was just an alignment for me. It just solidified the whole idea. Hey, I don't have a wheelchair, so what am I going to do? So that's what I did, along with, as I said, is the power of thought and the meditation, visualizations. I mean, all that stuff. It's all important. It was all important. So it was a progression.
And let's not minimize the very hard work that you put into exercising. How many hours a day did you work on your body?
I worked on my body about 3 to 4 hours a day, and I always feel like during the time, Rocky movies were on with Stallone, and that's what way my workout was. It was just like a Rocky workout every day, and I went down to the pool. I was scraping, my toes where they were bleeding, but I was a man on a mission, and I just had to do this stuff. It was pretty incredible. I look back on this, and I just go, "Wow, Phil, you really gave it your best." And look what happens.
Tell me what your wife's role in all of this was.
Well, my wife, and I really get emotional about this, but my wife was so strong. And, I was her, and I would say this, her knight in shining armor, carrying her through the threshold. And when I had this accident, she had a knowing too. And she became my pillar of strength. She was my pillar of strength. And she was my knight in shining armor, carrying me through the threshold. I mean, she is just an incredible soul. It was a true partnership. We went through some pretty crazy stuff that I cover in my book, and she was a trooper, and we just didn't let it get us down. If I was down, she'd get me up. I never saw her down. She was always high-spirited about this whole thing, and that woman is there is a good person for me to. I mean, I admire her so much, and you know what? It was an awesome experience, and most people that have things like this happen in their life, because I've gone through a lot of workshops and stuff with spinal cord injuries, and a lot of the couples they just break up because hey, they didn't get into this that way, as far as one being paralyzed, like in my case. Life changes, but she stuck it out. She stuck it out. She's an amazing woman, and to have 2 kids is amazing. I mean, we both wanted kids, because I mean that was such a challenge, and the doctor said it never happened, but it did.
How did you feel when you first discovered she was pregnant?
Well, I gave it 5 years of incredible workout, and I knew that it was time for me to relax with the types of workouts that I was doing when she came to me and goes, "Hey, guess what?" And I go, "What?" She goes, "Hey, you know what? We're having a baby." I'm like, "What?" And at that point I said, wow, my life changed a little bit. I couldn't worry about, because I still have trouble with trying to bend my toe in my right leg. I wear like a short leg brace that kind of keeps my ankle at a certain degree. And I just said, I gave it my best. I'm done. And now it's time to move on to my next chapter, which is becoming a parent. Mm-hmm. So it's incredible.
So, what do you think? Your kids are grown now, aren't they?
I have a 12-year-old, and I have my 21-year-old who's just finishing up in college.
What kind of legacy do you think this experience has given them, particularly the 21-year-old?
Well, I think the legacy would be is, don't ever give up. Hey, my dad did something incredible. It's something that I know I can do if I'm willing to work for it. But really give it, I think that's the legacy, is to believe in yourself, give it your best, and help people. I mean, that's why I wrote, follow your heart. I really wanted to help people, to give hope, inspiration, and to let people know just how important it is to engage in their life, to be a part of it, to make things happen in their life. And I think that's what they can take from this, is that just open up to it and give it your best in whatever you want to do in your life, and love people. Love people. So.
Did your attitude towards other people change during the course of this? When you say love people, did you love them before? Do you love them more now?
No, that part's always been, I've always loved people. I think where it's changed about me is when people are not willing to give themselves a chance. That kind of bothers me a little bit, but you know what? That means that they're just not ready in their life to maybe do what it is to make things happen in their life. I just think that I think it kind of bothers me, but to short sell yourself in your life, and you should always give it your best. And I think that because I love teamwork, that's what my company's built on, is that synergy. And that's, to me, is what makes the world go round, is team and working together to make things happen. And I think when people kind of, for whatever reasons there are, when they don't believe in themselves and they're just not doing anything and they're depressed and all that I think that kind of, I think there's an answer there that, and if they at least don't want to give it a try, I think that's kind of where my frustration is in it, because of my experience that I've had in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Has your spirituality evolved through this experience?
Well, my spirituality is that I think it's, I realized, what we have within us. I've always been spiritual in the sense that I know that we can do it, that there's, as you saw with my experience, and I think what's evolved in it is understanding really the importance of the power of thought and being in line with, with whatever it is, because you really tap into the God energies, or whatever anybody wants to say about that. But we really tap into those energies if we allow them. And that's, I think, the involvement is that I've really, done some, I spent a lot of time in this, and some great things, incredible. It's been an incredible journey with an incredible outcome. And I think that's kind of what's evolved in this, is that man, I finally could say that I did give it my best. And look what happens. Look what happens when I did give it my best. And I think, and it's all about tapping into the spiritual things about those energies that we have within us that are intangibles. You know, we talk about the powers of faith, belief, willpower, determination, you know, flexibility, patience. I mean, those types of things that are within us that people always say, you know, that you hear about all the time. And man, it's just, it definitely. So regarding my journey, yeah, that's where my spirituality. I just saw some great, you know, outcomes in it, and it's from really giving it my best and really having a great process.
Mm-hmm. You speak to a lot of students, particularly about safe driving, but also about believing in themselves. Are you seeing any greater openness to these kind of ideas now than have you seen a progression over the course of the years that you've been doing this?
With what now?
With the students?
With the kids, you know, I think what the kids really enjoy about this whole experience is that it was an experience. They, you know, I have so much great feedback, you know, and what the kids say, God, you know, people talk to me, but, you know, this is really awesome. You really have inspired me because you've gone through it. And I think that's kind of, you know, what I get out of it is that they know it's coming from my heart. And I think that when people can really see the passion of each other, and it's genuine, and they have gone through something that they can share with somebody. I'm not taking any away from authors that haven't experienced it, because there's some great insight that we learn as well without having to go through something like what I went through. But I think that's what the real essence of this is how, you know, what they're feeling and what the message is and what they're seeing, and they're seeing it from a guy that has done it, you know, that went through this process. So I don't see really any difference in that, in a difference about the spirituality part of or the believing in what the kids believe in. You know, what they're doing is they're seeing, like I said, the experience from someone that's gone through it, and that's what they're really feeling, and I think that's what really helps. Mm-hmm. I really do. Mm-hmm. We're just examples for each other, and that's what I feel about that. So,
what's your son studying at university?
I have two daughters.
Oh, daughters. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Elizabeth is studying anthropology, and that's her major, and then minors in economics.
Very interesting.
And then my 12-year-old is, you know, not surprising that she's in leadership there, and she helps stop fights. Says, hey, you know, don't pick on that person. That's not cool. You know, I mean, she is a champion, I guess, of, you know, wanting people to get along, and she's a cheerleader. She's, you know, she's a great little heart, just like my oldest daughter, Elizabeth. So, I mean, and I don't know what Juliet's always said that she wants to become the CEO of my company, and she works in there and gives pins to the agents and stuff. And then Elizabeth really wants to go and see the world. She wants to be with, work for an airline and go experience the world. So I think that's great. She's a free spirit in that regard.
So at this time of year, do you have a message that you want to leave with our listeners?
Well, you know, the message that I want to leave with people is really to, you know, think about what it is that you want to do in your life, have a clear goal, and don't let anybody take your dreams away from you. Work at them, give it your best, and you know, love yourself, and you know, just understand also that, hey, if you're feeling pain and suffering, that it's okay, because that's exactly what's going to help you get out of your situation. And I always say that a lot of people, you know, with the pain and suffering, they feel the victim of why is this happening to me. You know, it's like there was a saying that is that life is supposed to be a bowl of cherries, but why do I get all the pits? And I always say, well, the pits are what grow trees, so you can get more cherries.
Uh-huh.
You know, so you know, I just hope everybody wants to read Follow Your Heart. It's a great book. There's a lot of insight from someone that's actually experienced this. And you can go to my website, which is follow-your-heart.us, and you could read about my story and the things that I've been doing. I've been on some TV and radio, and like what I'm doing today. And I just like spreading the news. I just really like spreading it, because we all have it within us, and we just gotta work at it and see that, you know, work at it mentally and physically, and you'll just be, you know, just in wonderment about the strengths that we have within us. It's just amazing if we're willing to open up to them and work them out.
Well, Philip,
That's my message.
Absolutely in awe of what you've accomplished, and also of the importance of the messages that you're conveying. So I want to thank you very much for being with us. We've been speaking with Philip Devitte, the author of Follow Your Heart. His website is follow-your-heart.us. Philip, thank you again.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to everybody.